And the Firebrand inclusion, I have to say, just it being in the deck can start to mess with how your opponent plays around it.
Yeah, that's kind of what we've been seeing, and it goes against a lot of the decks in different ways that I kind of forget. Like against Druid, you obviously have the ability to snipe off the Twilight Runner in the Mage Mirror. It stops them from going super wide with minions at the start. It's not going to be Tom on the Mage out the gate, though. It is going to be Tyler with already a hand that I like the look of very much. I honestly wouldn't hate a full keep here.
Yeah, I can see your point. There's a turn 1 play, Apprentice Evocation is a package deal, and Jandice, when it's coined out, is almost certainly going to be powerful. But the problem is the curve doesn't work out that cleanly because Apprentice Evocation is not a turn 2 or even a turn 3 play a lot of the time.
Yeah, I don't hate this at all. Jandice, I think, goes down. When you have it in Tempo Mage versus Secret Rogue, it's a much higher mulligan win rate card in Rogue, I believe, than it is in Mage, because of the power of Shadow Step often.
For Tom, though, we did actually see a full keep on the Dirty Tricks, Shadow Step, and Jandice. So he kept his package deal of Jandice Step and just took the Dirty Tricks to make sure that, well, in all likelihood, he was going to have plays in the early game expecting Tyler to use Coin or some other spell at some point. It's very interesting and not the type of rogue hand that I'm used to seeing kept.
Definitely not. Because I think one of the things that you have to bear in mind that if you're not putting forward your own threats as rogue in the early game, Mage can very often quite happily just not play any spells. They're not forced into going for, Tempo, Ray of Frost, Cram Session. They can just develop their minions quite happily, which starves Tom of resources very heavily here.
Can just take a lackluster Cram Session, but again, any spell potentially procs Dirty Tricks from Tom. He is also running 1 copy of Ambush and 2 copies of Plagiarize.
But Tyler knows after playing a minion last time that it's 100% Dirty Tricks, in which case... Oh, I don't know, like, I'm leaning towards saying Apprentice on this turn because it's kind of unlikely to die because you've just seen a backstab. It was a double keep in the hand. I'm not sure what that read would be, to be honest.
I don't know. I would put the read on, like, a Miscreant or something.
Right, yeah.
Oh! That's a way to spend your mana.
Yeah, lead up to the Jandice and not have to react to anything. I like the sound of that.
Just delete their turn of spells, at least.
Pretty much.
And if they do play 1 spell, with the amount of mana you've left them to do that, you get the Dirty Tricks activation as well. Tyler is going to be very patient here, but this is kind of what Tom wanted. Just being the first to land Jandice, safely Shadow Step it, and do the same again.
Oh, is it definitely step Jandice and not step the Neophyte here? Like...
Oh, come on, Derek. You always love stepping Jandice.
I do usually, but he's got Secret Passage. Like, I think with this hand from Tyler, 2 cards were kept. Neither of them have been played. You have a strong read on Apprentice.
Fair enough.
He could even stunner his Jandice next turn if he has to. Or, I guess, stunner the Neophyte again. Just, like, get another turn of spell denial. I honestly wouldn't even hate that line.
But Tyler has missiles and ping, so there's a decent chance that the illusion and the Jandice itself die this turn.
True.
Yes, you give Tom the Dirty Tricks, but I think it's about time.
Job done.
In the end, though, he's saying enough is enough here. I am making certain that that dies on the following turn.
Oh, this is a passage for sure. Nothing else to do with the mana.
We're looking for Edwin. Miscreant. I guess questing. Not that. Not that. Play the stunner?
Yeah, and then the Plagiarize, and
Yeah.
then the Abyss. so strange to go about it that way, but you don't want to top deck any of these.
Yeah.
Guess he's valuing the dagger over a stunner, which is fair.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, you are expecting 100% a massive apprentice turn. I think Tom is an incredibly hard read on that at this point. In which case, 1 damage to face that you're probably not getting with the stunner, I think is reasonable.
Oh, but it can't be the apprentice turn because he played Plagiarize.
Oh yeah, of course. He denies it for another turn. Is Tyler ever going to be allowed to play in this game?
Maybe this is the turn. But
He
we have
instantly
another
draws the stunner.
passage on our hands. 4 more chances of Plagiarize or Edwin or Questing.
There it is. Now we're talking.
All of them playable. I guess not really the backstab. Those are not great either.
They're not. And I think at this point for Tyler, are you really holding off for another turn because of the 1 of Plagiarize? Like, there's 1 of each secret at this point. I think you just got to go in.
Yeah, he can't. And also, you can start with Apprentice, and if you see Ambush, then you're happy about the rest of your turn.
Right, yeah. Okay, all in now. Ice Barrier for a bit of health. Fantastic. More spells, more spells.
I didn't even see the other trick options. I only
Me
saw the
neither.
Ice Barrier. Yup.
Uh-huh.
Go, go, go! Go, go, go!
Is
I
this
want to
like...
freeze the 4-3 and the 4-5, and then Evocation.
it's
sorry,
only...
only 1 Ray left.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you're going Evocation and not Mana Cyclone, sure.
Sometimes you can do both.
Missiles is huge.
Rain Freeze and then Missiles. Good. Fireball, the bigger one. Just cuz. And then Mana Cyclone.
Okay, you don't get the Ice Barrier in, but sure. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. This is good.
Oh!
Oh, you've got to go really fast!
Did he do it? Did he? Ah!
He got it.
Okay,
He
we're
got the
missing
important
any
things
side
in.
quests, but and the font. Okay, not a huge deal. Not a big deal. That was the turn TM from Tyler. He was very, very patient about it, and you know he has far more value than Tom has. But Tom has this last push of Combustion plus the Ancestral Guardian. Big deal.
It is, but it's going to have to get there with pretty much just that, because he is looking like he's very weak. The rest of his deck looking very weak as well, with both of the secret passages already been played. And Tyler is going to start going turbo mode soon. Kirin Tor with Ice Barrier?
Yeah, that's really clean. Because the rest of the turn is Giant Conj, right? So Kirin Torque, Ice Barrier, all the mana spent.
I like that a lot.
Order is a bit weird because of Arcane Devourer.
Yep, agreed.
Hello?
Yep, this is mage stuff right now. Tom doesn't ever have lethal here, but I think even then you're always just attacking face. It's really just a question of the order that you attack with, because Vaporize versus Flame Ward is the exact opposite of what you want either way.
Yeah. I think he's just taking the Flame Ward option because I don't think Tyler would want to play Vaporize when there's a 1-1 on the board.
That's true, that's true.
And then I'm on board for 1 mana 1/2s.
Oh,
he needs to find lethal. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he can't.
Like you're
There's
saving
no more
them
passages either.
You're saving them for Edwin, saving them for combo activators. Like you need to leave something in your hand on this turn.
Well, I want to freeze the giant.
Yeah, me too. Maybe you do just play everything. Like maybe a combo activator isn't good enough here.
The thing is, no single top deck from Tom is good anymore because he played both of the secret passages. So he needs secret into stunner to stay alive for another turn.
So trade the. You kind of want the giant to go face. I was looking at like VT the giant, Conjurer's Calling, and then Ping. Which is what Tyler goes for. Yeah, this is fine, I guess. As long as you get bored, you're just winning.
Oh my god.
Oi, oi, oi.
That's board, that's health, that's everything Tyler could possibly ask for. I just wanted to bring up the funny thing that Potion of Illusion plus the copied giant plus Conj would not work.
Oh yeah, true. And, or 1/1 Deathwing. That sounds like a powerful minion. Just punches something and then dies.
Yeah, Tom can pack it up.
Oi, oi, oi. Mega lethal.
1/1 Eve? Nothing there. Miscreant into Ethereal into...
Vanish?
Seed.
That isn't in the game anymore and he doesn't have mana for. Tyler does end up taking the win against the Rogue. I think that Tom piloted that very well around the mid-game. Like, he was maximizing his chances of getting damage through his face through the Jandas. It was a couple of very lackluster outcomes off of the secret passage as well along the way there that led him to just running out of gas completely. I think if he'd got a single a single Edwin, maybe even a Miscreant, that could have been a different game entirely for Tom.
For Tom, I still have questions about maybe shadow stepping the Jandas. I understand the reads by that point, but I guess the less or less contentious point that we can talk about is maybe playing down a stunner that he got from the passage and not having it back in the pool, given that he had second passage, which by that point you really, really want to maximize your chances of hitting Edwin or questing and just trying to close out the game so that he doesn't squander the amount of tempo that he got by freezing Tyler in place for several turns, essentially.
Yeah, and it would have actually worked out even better than that, because having the stunner on board would have potentially diverted the devolving missiles away from the other more impactful minions that were in play, in addition to, of course, making his draws better off the top. And so I think the value of getting that down versus the dagger does probably end up slightly in the favor of playing out the stunner there. But the upshot is that Tyler does end up taking the win with the mage. Tom, again, didn't have especially strong hate on it, but I do think that was the weak deck for Tyler. Even having said that, Mage is a decent matchup, Demon Hunter is a decent matchup, and now Tyler, I think, in a decent spot. The Demon Hunter to me, the Priest to me in particular, I think is very likely to get a win.
Yeah, I would agree. Although he is gonna queue up the Demon Hunter first into into Tom's second shot on the Rogue. Tom's list is not running anything in particular to give itself a better matchup against Rogue. No Consume Magic in there. There's an Acidic Swamp Ooze and a Spectral Sight in the 2 tech card slots that I want to call it when you're not running Magtheridon Polkelt.
One to keep an eye on for sure when we come back from our break, because we do have to go to a very quick break here. The final series of the day will continue between Tom and Tyler when we come back from this. This is the last series of the day here for APAC, and it's approaching the end of the road for a lot of our players here in Grandmasters, for this season at least. Even if our players are not relegated, if they're not going through to the playoffs next week, that's them done for this season. So hopefully for both Tyler and Tom here, they can get their spot in the playoffs. They're both in Division 8, but Tom down at the bottom of the standings at the moment with only 2 wins so far. He can get all the way up to 4 and 3 if he wins both of his remaining matches, but he's not off to a good start against Tyler with a close but ultimately mage-favoured game for Tyler. And as I was saying, I think that puts him in a good spot and means Tyler is likely to be ending up in a pretty good spot in the playoffs of top 6 as well.
And it would be pretty big if Tyler takes this series too, just looking at the history of Tom and Tyler this season. It appears that the 3 times they faced each other, Tom won all 3 of those series, and one of them was even a 3-0, and Specialist Week a 2-0. So if we were talking about how Glorious surrenders Kryptonite, might be that Tom is Tyler's if he cannot overcome Tom once again today.
Maybe, and it's looking like he's going to be in this particular game of Hearthstone because that is a backstab, an Edwin Van Cleef, and as long as he can find something else to go alongside this, this is going to be a quick one for sure.
In most cases, you would assume so, but there's always the chance of finding one makers, finding consume magic, and for Tyler, just having Spirit Jailer is also just a big deal, getting on board first. Can't imagine what else he's thinking about keeping Twin Slice, maybe? I don't think that has enough targets to warrant keeping in the early game.
I think he's quickly logging on to HS Replay and seeing what the mulligan win rates of the cards are, I'd have to imagine. Like, Magtheridon against Rogue, yes, it's potentially an answer to a big Edwin or questing, which is why he ends up keeping the Magtheridon. I guess with the Soul Fragments shuffled in, as soon as he hits the Shard Shatter, he's in a very good spot.
Okay. Man, I did not expect to see that, but we'll see if it works out for him. By the time, if you are just curving Magtheridon into Shard Shatter Mystic, that's a turn 5 activation, and if you expect turn 4 Edwin, then you only get 1 hit off of it. I don't know.
You're not feeling it?
No, I feel like if there's gonna be a big threat coming down, it would be turn 3. Generally, when they're on coin, they have 3 mana, they go like coin, 1 drop, all the 0 cost, and then the big Edwin. And then it still takes you 2 turns to activate Magtheridon to deal with it. And by that point, you're not even guaranteed to have the Shard Shatter Mystic.
Indeed. I do like this Edwin coming down though now from Tom. We generally look to, if you want a game-winning Edwin, I think 8-8 is the minimum it has to be, but ideally 10-10 if you want it to just ride you to victory just on that. 6-6 is just like tempo Edwin. It's just to try and hold board for a few turns and find an alternate win con.
But with the way Tom's hand shaped out, it was a pretty clean Edwin into Cult Neophyte 1 Thief play. But now this Shadow Step, I guess there's not a great way to really even make the Edwin bigger, so he can hold on to Shadow Step.
Freeze. Very interesting. As long as Tom isn't blown out of the game towards the start, it looks like late game advantage is just on his side. He's got plenty of value with the secret passages and the trump card of Deep Freeze at the end.
That was the most disciplined trade I've ever seen. But I think it's correct.
Yeah,
Tom.
I agree. He's playing for the late game.
Yeah, it's 4 mana from Tyler. If Tyler wants to clear the Edwin, he has to tank it anyway. And this way, Tyler does not get a value trade on 2D1. It's not a particularly strong passage just yet, but if you hit like 1 Miscreant off of it, is that just good enough?
Is that better than going Shadow Step on the Wand Thief and then just playing out the Secret? I guess you could still go for Secret Passage after. Yeah.
Oh!
think viable, yeah, to answer the lapidary that you're expecting next turn.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. The problem that Tom is already running into is leading up to Deep Freeze. You kind of accept that when you land the water elementals, you've already permanently locked out Tyler's weapon charges and probably win the game off the back of that. So going for power creation seems pretty redundant.
This is a weird time for Tyler because the first thought is obviously glaive bound on curve to clear off, I guess, the neophyte and then go face. But for Skull next turn, are we ever going Mag Theridon here in the hopes of hitting Shard Shatter next turn off the Skull?
Maybe that is the line.
You can hit Jailer as well here. It's not like you're playing mana inefficiently.
You also have to consider the secret. If that's ambush, then the glaive bound feels pretty bad as well.
True.
So
I mean, maybe the play is just
He kept the mag. Let's play the mag.
Right. Like, I almost wonder if it's Mag Theridon and don't play Spirit Jailer as well, because you don't want the fragments in your deck at this point, even. Just for Skull.
That was interesting, but Tyler's also kinda dying.
He is kind of dying. You're not wrong.
Oh, he did prep. Oh wait, prep Deep Freeze next turn. That sounds
Prep
really good.
Deep Freeze.
Yeah.
It does mean there's no Jandis available, but I guess actually board space was just not there.
Yes, play the mag to deny the Jan. Oh, he can evolve into the one. Oh my god! Hello?
Oh, that's so illegal!
That's brutal.
Mag Theridon is unable to activate for the rest of the game. It is dead, 100%.
To be fair to Tom, any Shadow Step also does a similar effect, but this is just insult to injury. Tyler's entire investment last turn has been thrown out the window.
Yeah. Obviously good spot by Tom, not an especially deep line, but one that just forces Tyler 100% onto the pure damage plan. And I think we can quite clearly see that's not going to get there. Even if it's literally prep Deep Freeze just to freeze Tyler, I think Tom is still winning if he goes for that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
8 mana, freeze your opponent's face.
Oh, do you do it?
No, no, surely not, right?
I guess not. You can just go for Eviscerate off of passage, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. I want Tom to do it. I'm just going to say that. It would be hilarious.
It would be.
Top 5 plays. Come on, Tom. Oh, no.
And there you have it. You pointed something at the face. There's the Eviscerate. And that was the most one-sided game versus Demon Hunter I have ever seen.
Yeah, it was an extremely hard punish on Tyler keeping the Mag Theridon. That is quite literally about as bad as it can go. That is not the average outcome, so I'm not going to blame Tyler for having that having happened. The question is still just, was the Mag Theridon worth keeping at all, though? Because unless you hit precisely the Shard Shatter Mystic, and then also avoid the play of a Blackjack Stunner on the following turn, it feels like Mag Theridon is just not that valuable in the matchup.
Or even just a Shadow Step the turn before you go Shard Shatter, which shuts off the Mag Theridon activation. I don't know. I don't think this is a matchup where keeping Mag Theridon is justified. And I don't think it's a meta where playing Mag Theridon is very good because there's just not that much Druid at the moment. However, maybe the Mag can get something done in the Mirror, which is a matchup which we could potentially still see. However, Tyler has queued up his Priest and Tom is on the Mage next.
Yeah, a matchup we've seen already go very, very one-sided for Bank Yugi against Chonsu earlier today. But Tyler does have a little bit of a different build on the Priest here. I like what he's going for. I like that there's one Holy Smite in there. I think that's still fairly important to include as a one-off to find off a Cleric of Scales for just one immediate removal spell. And I really like double Twilight Drake, actually. Whenever it's generated off of Draconic Studies, it seems very, very powerful. And just being able to throw down a big minion at the start of the game, I think is good in almost every matchup right now.
He is giving up the Cabal Shadow Priest, which has gotten a bit more popular lately for Twilight Drake, but it seems like the Shadow Priest has been clunky nearly every time I've seen it drawn in these priest hands, so I really do like the Twilight Drake inclusion as well. Makes the Cleric of Scales a bit more consistent on top of that, and you can turbo it out with a Draconic Studies in the early hand.
Yeah. Tom's build with the non-dragon package, Firebrand in there, 1 AI, 1 Conjurer's Calling, 1 Devolving Missiles. It's a little bit here and there in terms of the cards he's got in there, but I think it should function perfectly well here. The Devolving Missiles can be very powerful in the matchup, of course, when you're getting rid of Kaj, buff effects. I think it's just a pretty straight up 50-50 down the middle, as I've been saying for a long time in Priest vs. Mage.
Pretty strong opener for Tyler. He has the package deal of the Cabal Acolyte and 1 cost spells later on, and the Draconic Studies to start. But it's a big deal that Tom is able to, what looks like, stick a Solarian unchallenged to then activate his Cram Session.
Yeah. I guess you probably do go about it that way. Like, I'm looking at Astromancer into Shenvala, into then going for the Cram Session afterwards and being a little bit greedy, but you have a reasonable chance of activating the Shenvala on the turn after.
It's true, and playing Shenvala this early means it's okay, you're vulnerable to exactly them coining Cabal Acolyte into Raise Dead, which is not a reasonably likely thing for them to do, but it's in hand.
It is in hand.
And also the fact that he now has Lab Partner means 3 draw Cram Session, you take those.
Yeah, that's the kick here. That means you can just go for Shenvala, hopefully after having found the Apprentice. Otherwise, honestly, I think you very possibly would have just gone with the Tempo Shenvala and been Giga punished.
Go Hothead on curve, maintain the coin. I like that.
Yeah, no need to activate the Spell Burst either here, as you're probably saving it for Cabal Acolyte, Spellkin as well. Draw some cards?
How though? Generate or draw?
Draw. I want to find Apprentice with this hand.
Well, the Combustion's a pretty good outcome.
That is a good outcome, I'll give you that.
It's like he played a Fireball. 4 mana deal with their 6 health minion. That's a pretty good trade.
Pretty good turn on the other side though for Tyler. He's not running out of value anytime soon, and the Cleric of Scales can also just kind of find him the specific answers he needs at any point along the way as well.
Such a powerful card for consistency. One Thief and... Oh, he's just going for the thing instead. Okay. Yeah, I guess by that point, Tyler can happily heal up his minions and stay ahead on board forever. And Tom sets up for a better Firebrand this way.
I'll take Shadower Death, I think, just to have a big answer if straight up Giant comes down. Like, Silmir is good for the wide boards. I want something for just a big minion plop down.
That's true. He has no shortage of dragons in hand, so Draconic Studies doesn't seem necessary. And Holy Smite, you could just generate yourself something like that with the double Cobalt Spellkin, so I was interested in the death too.
Yeah, he doesn't currently have answers to many small things if just like a board of little stuff is developed, to be fair. But I think like VT trades and healing back up looked fine to me.
Yeah, his board was the answer.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom finally able to get Shenvala activation. Freezing away the Hothead gives him the best chance of sticking Shenvala or the 5/5. But he's really not putting together the giant discounts that he wants. Apprentice nowhere to be found.
Now we're cooking.
Okay. Keep cycling. Do you silence your frozen guy to be able to attack with it?
That's what I was looking at. I think he's probably just relying on the game plan of that tanking the hit on the other side.
Sure.
Because, like, actively removing the 5/5 isn't that crucial here.
Makes sense.
Ooh. Gift of Luminance on the Sethic? Yeah, sign me up.
Oh, all the value.
This is crazy value.
If you coin renew, nah, it never fits. It never fits.
You're at 8 cards, you go down to 6. You don't overdraw if you go coin renew and target a minion.
Oh, it does fit.
Yeah, it
That's
fits
insane.
perfectly. This is insanely powerful from Tyler. Death.
Silence?
Yeah, silence you do overdraw. That is too much at that
Yeah.
point. Holding the Whispers makes sense as well with the Wild Pyromancer. No reason to throw it down quite yet. Answer is forced here from tom60229 to try and answer this board. And he has a few ways to go about it here. Raz, Astromancer, and then try and find another spell damage is okay, but it's just not quite correctly lined up to answer this.
Honestly, Raz Ping does a better job of dealing with things.
True, yeah.
Like Ping on the 1/1, but it all just feels awkward.
I will crush your delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, I was looking if it was ever Firebrand there, but there's just quite a lot of health on the board, even after you trade with the 5/5.
Oh, it's
So this way, he's killing the lab partner, but leaving up the small Sethic. And honestly, with this many cards for Tyler, he's probably going to trade one of the Sethics anyway, so I think this is good for him.
I mean, I'm wondering if this is just Soul Mirror for Tyler. He gets to stick a Solarian in his deck. He gets a Raz. The
Yeah.
Raz blows up and deals 2 damage to everything.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder.
And yeah, then you just trade the 1/1 Sethic into the
Right,
Raz. It's super
yeah.
clean, right?
It does obviously
That's
leave you...
really strong.
Yeah, it leaves you a little bit vulnerable to a big, like, giant Conjurer's Calling on the other side, but proactive development is the name of the game.
And he's also just saved the death in his back pocket for
True.
that possibility. So I think this is great from Tyler.
Again, a tough board for Tom to deal with. How does he find the answer now?
Yikes. One thief fishing for
You get burned.
rolling fireball?
I don't even know.
Ay, ay, ay.
Ping? Is that even the correct ping? I don't know. Are you
I
trying
don't
to
think so.
fill their
I don't
hand
know.
with resources?
I guess
That
their
doesn't
hand's
sound like
already
it'll work.
full.
Yeah. Do you just take another Raz here with Gift of Luminance?
I'm on board. That
That
sounds,
sounds
really strong.
insane. Yeah.
Master takes dedication.
Steal the 2/2.
And then you mind games another spell damage minion. Let's go.
Oh, you could get Solarian Prime, to be fair. It's not extremely unlikely.
Yeah, this is the sensible play, Tyler. Oh my goodness. Have some more free value, why don't you?
Oh, this is just absolute peak disgusting priest play.
Yep. Oh no, he's gonna overdraw.
Boo-hoo.
Oh wait, he doesn't even need to. You play the Lackey, unless it's a Lackey that generates more value, but it is not.
Yeah.
destruction they come.
Oh, damn it. He's not on a reborn board here. He wanted feet.
Too bad.
I have become one.
Okay, that's the answer. That's what Tom
Yep.
was looking for.
Ay, 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 not that one.
Okay, that's not the worst target. Secret's bad, secret's bad.
Bad. Where's the blizzard? Where's the flame strike?
That was
Oh, this was
terrible!
It's the worst prime I've ever seen.
Straight garbage.
Yep. Just play a giant? No, he has conj in hand.
Looking for puzzle box, I guess, for the next turn is where he's at. Like, I guess if Tyler doesn't have any like impactful plays, like powerful attack minions to throw down, maybe Tom has time to stabilize, but I don't even believe it as I'm saying it. He's just dying to what's on board already.
Tyler generating a 1-cost spell to play test for CS. He now knows it's not Mirror Entity. I think you have 2 waves, 2 Cobalt Spellkins, so it's totally fine to throw one down, test for the CS, and then play the Death, and then when you see it's Spellbender, you can just use Apotheosis on something.
I mean, if you go wave first and it's not Mirror and it's not Counterspell, I guess you're okay that you can't use the Death then, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case.
Apotheosis instead.
Yeah. Sure. Doesn't even want to bother just playing around Flame Ward here by trading everything in first, trying to end up with a 7/7 on board at the end, I guess.
Sometimes I forget things.
It's still a clear.
Oh my god.
He did the mind games. Didn't hit the spell damage minion. Okay, giant conjurers.
Yeah, plus a very powerful devolving missiles. This needs to... Oof, okay, not exactly what you're looking for, but this needs to be a very powerful giant conjurer's calling for Tom. What is in the box?
Tyrion?
Well, that's not bad. He can even get the side quest activation if he gets a playable 2-drop here, which he does.
I think
with
I'd take another
evocation.
Cyclone. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, you probably take the Cyclone.
Oh! Can he guaranteed steal the Tyrion?
I don't think so.
So there's Pyro to help clean things up. I guess you'll settle for stealing a Lucent Bark.
Yeah, like he can guaranteed steal the Lucent Bark, right? If he goes Pyro, Death, Wave, Cabal, Wave. It's a lot of resources used up, to be fair. And so maybe you just play it instantly.
Yeah. It's tough, right? Because I want to take the 50-50 to steal Tyrion. But if you do that, then your 2/2s are dead without you necessarily having traded them in. So maybe the safest thing is just to take the guaranteed steal the Lucent part.
Your mind is not so
Yeah,
or
I
just don't even mess around with the Pyro, sure.
Yeah, you can just let rip right out the gate, and 2 out of 3 times you're very happy. 1 out of 3 times you are miserable, though, which maybe opens up an opportunity for Tom. Like, we were looking for this slither of a chance to pull back into the game, and this may be it. Evocation was premium as well.
This might be the window.
It says explode!
Maybe Tom last turn was holding onto the Cyclone because he wanted more room for evocation. That is very valid. Double devolving missiles.
I mean, that card has got to be dead at this point. There's still a 7/7 inside there, obviously.
Yeah. Yep. Softening the board as much as possible. Do you ping here? I don't think it's worth the 2 mana. I think with 2 shots at devolving missiles, possibly 3.
Yeah, like,
Fine.
you maybe even just go for Learn Draconic here first.
Yeah, I wanted to see that. Okay.
Pretty good. Yeah,
So now
sure.
it's Learn Draconic, Side Quest, and Cram Session. Okay, that's like, sure. Maximum resources for Tom. He is back in this somehow. Tyler is down a Soul Mirror. Another Evo generated.
How is this happening? Tyler can go for Mass Resurrection and try and hit the Cabal Acolyte in order to steal again. Or he could
he has
search...
even lower odds to get the good minions by this point.
Yeah.
Also, he doesn't know what secret just got played. So he's testing for CS. And Spellbender at once. He's that it is neither of them.
Sword Steel?
Forbidden? Deals with the Lucent Bark after
That's
some other
true.
stuff gets played.
I am the iron hand of the wastes.
Oh, I guess it's just down to a 4-3 anyway. There's gotta be a Pyro in here somewhere, I think.
Quickly.
Right?
Pyro,
Pyro,
Apo.
Apo, Discover, something. Yeah, you lose your 2-2, but everything
Yeah,
else
yeah,
on
yeah,
top
yeah.
side gets cleared. There's a 6-6 which you can death.
Death. Okay, yeah, he got it. He misses. Oh, okay. By
Lab
healing
partner.
first, he can then trade it. Okay, yeah. This is.
You just leave up a lab card here. I think it's fine.
Whoa, good spot. Good turn from Tyler there. But does still mean Tom's in this. It's gonna be a close one.
Yeah. He is way in this.
His hand doesn't have much.
Missiles.
Yeah, it doesn't have much punch here. I guess actually the 6-drop, and then you can Conjurer's Calling that. It's pretty strong.
Maybe he doesn't need to yet. I think he's just making room for next evocation.
Okay.
I like the sound of that. And the secret every turn is super annoying for Tyler. He still has these cheap spells to test for CS, but it shuts off the player you're talking about of trying to resurrect the Cabal Acolyte and
Right.
then go Wave of Apathy.
Yeah, it's just way too scary. If you hit CS there, you can basically just pack up shop.
Whoa, giant.
That's so powerful. But is it quick enough?
I don't know. I think he might have to do a defensive wave here. And well, first he plays small
Yeah.
minion, test for mirror entity. Yup. And then go minion, minion, wave.
Yeah, that's a taunt.
But you can't fit in the wave if you do. Maybe he doesn't need to wave.
A simple
I just
think
feel like
you'd
it's
rather
extremely
wave.
powerful
Yeah.
to essentially freeze the 6-6 and try to set up counter lethal.
Yeah, I agree completely. I want to see Draconic into wave here, I think.
Or vision? Mind vision into wave? That
Okay.
could just give you burst. Yeah. Oh my goodness! That's the Evo!
Oh
But
my
Tyler's like,
God.
wait, Tom has another one?
Yeah. It's like, oh great, I got an Evo. Oh wait, he has an Evo.
They have an Evo. Oh my god, how does Tom even go about this? Best shot of answering the giant is probably just evolving. So trade devolving. Make some more room for another Evo.
Yeah,
Okay.
not bad.
Bolt.
Frostbolt's good. Cone you can do on the same turn here as Conjurer's Calling, but yeah, the Bolt's probably just more efficient. Pretty big minions again.
I'm a little bit surprised to see the Conjurer's Calling because the rest
Really?
of his mana feels a bit awkward. Maybe I'm just caster visioning into this ice barrier. He doesn't really need it. This sets up lethal. Good spot
Yeah, he-
from Tom. He has maximum room for evocation.
Just wants to find the lethal.
Same cannot be said of Tyler. Doesn't have space. He had a great evo.
He can still try and go for lethal though, right? Like, Inner Fire, Evocation,
Yeah.
Fireball, Frostbolt is still not there. Oh, it's just not good
Rolling
enough, is it?
Fireball. Does that do anything? Kills the Varanus?
Yeah. 8 damage. He needs to just play the 7/7.
Yeah. Trade. Play the. Okay. Wait, does this go over the Lucent Bark? I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
Okay, it does.
It doesn't make much difference either way, but
And just heal.
yikes.
And Tom is, I gotta say, very likely to hit lethal here.
How much damage
8
does he
showing.
need? 4? It feels likely, doesn't it? 3 even with the ping.
And And Tyler knows it. He stole this evocation.
That's not it.
Nope. But
That's
he
not
can
it.
CS, cram session.
Elemental Allies doesn't do very much here. Counterspell's the only really impactful spell here.
Cram session. And just ping. Go again next turn.
I think so.
It's amazing Tom's done this much without the apprentices. I even forgot
Seriously.
those were still in his deck.
I mean, I was just calling him out of the game. I was in, like, Discover Puzzle Box territory a few turns ago, but Tyler just has completely lacked on the answers to actually find any response to these boards.
The turning point was not stealing either Tyrion or the Lucent
true.
Orc. When he
That was
had
devastating.
100%er to do it. It was not the cleanest way, but I mean, he was guaranteed to be able to steal one of the big pickings.
I think I still liked the way he went about it, even if it was a little bit riskier, because the upside was just so huge. Still alive, though. Tyler's not technically out of the game yet.
Yet.
Even that doesn't guarantee lethal at all.
Right. He doesn't have a clear on the 3-5 that doesn't involve the damage he wants to send face.
Yeah. So he just points everything face. Okay. I guess denying the Apo along the way, probably. Oh.
So
Big taunt.
there's a mana giant in Tyler's pool, right?
Correct.
So walking fountain?
Oh
Anyone?
my god, really?
I don't know where we're at. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more just
Maybe.
pray that the secret that was played wasn't Mirror Entity quite here, which it
Okay.
wasn't.
Yeah.
But that is a Devolving Missiles for Tom off the top, the one naturally in his deck.
Okay. 7 to face. Conjurer's Calling. You're 1-1.
Yes.
And if 2 missiles hit face and
It's
you
just
have 4 of
guaranteed.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh my gosh. That was insane. Tom was behind it for 80% in the game. Managed to turn it around. Couple evocations and very well timed and annoying secrets for Tyler. Made all the difference there.
Yeah, it did. I think that was a very nicely done game from Tom for the most part. Tyler, he was using his removal spells very aggressively over the course of that game, which I was supporting. You know, the turn where he went for Soul Mirror to steal a Raz and get everything wide on board, I thought that was correct, just to try and push for the aggressive lethal. It was just Tom having too powerful of a play with Giant Conjurer's Calling that led to him, in the end, falling behind. Like, you have to wonder, in those games where you feel like you've already won as Priest, are you playing too liberally with your resources? Are you playing not liberally enough? I wonder if Tyler can look back and try and find any specific turns where he was supposed to go more all in order to get the actual damage to close out the game.
Maybe. I still think it was just the turn of not stealing one of the 8 drops guaranteed. It just goes to show that it's a lesson to never think you've won against Mage until you've actually won, though. I think both, or not just both, Priest, Mage, and Rogue are all capable of putting together strange win conditions, scrapping together value from out of nowhere towards the late game, and that's why these decks are pretty consistently seen in GM.
They are. They can take down even the most unlikely of matches. 1 win away for Tom now, and it would be a big win indeed. Obviously down only 2 wins at the moment. He does not, I believe he doesn't necessarily have to win both of his upcoming games to avoid the bottom 2 bracket, but it just puts him in so much better of a position to stay out of the bottom there, because it's very possible, I think, one player at 2 wins and one player at 3 wins will end up at the bottom. So you just want to make sure that you're in no possibility of that whatsoever by taking the one final win with his Demon Hunter here. The list that's got the 1 Spectral Sight, the 1 Ooze, clearly taking a little bit for the warrior, but not represented in Tyler's lineup here.
That does seem the case, but in the Demon Hunter mirror, the Ooze can still land some pretty decent targets. We've already seen a crazy Demon Hunter mirror a while ago in Surrender versus Dawn. Absolutely down to the wire, healing and damage coming out in droves from both sides. But we'll see how they approach this time. Tom is keeping the Skull of Gul'dan on the far left, and also Soul Shear, which is pretty interesting, but because his curve is Mana Feeder turn 3, I don't hate just having Soul Shear as your turn 2 play, clearing whatever Tyler plays in the first 2 turns.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, we do quite often see cards not having the necessary soul fragments, so even if you're just shooting a Soul Jailer here, Spirit Jailer, sorry, I think you're very happy with that.
Completely agree. For Tyler, though, as the one on the play, I would really like to see a full mull and try and hit the 1-drop, 2-drops.
Technically did that.
That means both players will have the fragments online relatively early.
I suppose if we want to look at it right now, Tom does have a little bit more of a, especially with the pickup of Aldraki, a bit of a slower hand here, relying on trying to heal back up and get the skull online rather than going super aggressive with his somewhat reactive hand. But, I mean, at the same time, Tyler doesn't have an especially proactive hand either.
Yeah. I mean, with Tom's keep, he's chosen to go for this game plan, which I think is perfectly justified when you have 3 pieces working in tandem towards that. Just a cycle on the Chaos Strike, I expect.
I expect as well. Even if you want to be clearing off the minions on the other side, you just have Twin Slice or Shard Shatter to be able to do that if necessary. But he's going to make us sweat.
Whenever you play Chaos Strike, there's always the argument of, oh, I wish I held this for Blade Dance later on, but I think that's a little bit too far in the future to be worried about. Tyler's mana seems to be relatively spoken for in the near future. Yep. Exactly according to Tom's plan.
Yep, everything going as expected so far. Question for Tyler is whether this is Shard Shatter on 3 just to get something on board.
Oh man, I hate it, but Eldraki for tempo I also hate.
I think I hate it less than hero powering on this turn.
True. Just Eldraki equip, call it a day.
Oh,
I hope that Tom plays something. Or...
I mean, I meant Shard Shatter here, honestly. Like,
oh, okay.
I think I just want to get something on the board here. Like, I know you can respond on the following turn to a mana feeder, but like, if they're not clearing off, that's 3 damage to face, which is a pretty big deal, and then they're possibly trading into it anyway.
Super strange. But this deviation from Tom, I think is brilliant. He just smells that Tyler's hand is damage that he wants to sink into minions.
Right.
And so Tom doesn't play a minion.
Yeah, it does allow for a very clean swing to face with the Marrow Slicer, but honestly, I think Tom is absolutely okay with that because, like you said, due to the weapon being equipped last turn, he just heals right back up to full on this turn.
Oh man, Tyler's hand is entirely reactive. He needs Lapidaries or that.
Yep. Not even allowed to enter the hand before he's just smacked onto the board there. Go do your work.
The mirror is where Magtheridon can be very relevant. Demon Hunter has no ways of bouncing this or transforming this. They very often just have to go over the top with a Blade Dance. And it takes a huge Blade Dance to be able to kill Magtheridon. So Tyler all of a sudden seems like he's in a great spot.
And I think the plan now for Tom isn't so much to try and kill the Magtheridon, it's to try and ignore the Magtheridon, pray that Tyler doesn't have healing, and just kill him in the next few turns.
Super interesting. Like, before this militia was drawn, it looked like a very straightforward Shard Shatter Mystic, but we could see Tyler manually dismantle the ones and just put all the fragments in his deck for militia on curve. He currently has 3 fragments in the deck.
I think I like that. Like, the Shard Shatter dies anyway, so you're not getting any more tempo on board by getting it down. You missed some damage to face, of course, which is why you
Yeah.
could go Soul Shear and then Shard Shatter, but I really like getting the fragments in the deck for next turn.
You just create the biggest board known to mankind if you go for that. Ah, okay. This is the halfway play, where he fits in the Soul Shear because he wasn't going to do much with his mana after the Shard Shatter, and he still has 4 fragments in the deck, so it's still a huge militia.
Unleashed!
I'm on board with this.
Yeah, it basically just means you're getting a smaller militia, but you get 5 damage to face for the cost of it.
Oh my god, Tom has the clear. I didn't notice. Blade Dance plus Glaive Bound. He doesn't even have to swing into the Magtheridon.
He's actually got it, which is bad, obviously, for Tyler here. He's massively on the back foot now after that humongous swing to clear off the Magtheridon. But Tyler, with his own response here, has got a very threatening board. Tom has used pretty much all of his damage effects apart from the Lapidary. He's not threatening lethal yet.
And that's why I think he's meant to clear the board instead of going for the Lapidary. And it's fine. Just refill on the next turn. He has Skull and Spectral Side, and River Croc is super warranted here. Just get it out of hand. Try to unlock the Spectral Side.
Man, this game of Hearthstone is sped up quite drastically at this
yes.
point as well. A bit of questioning with regards to order. Oh, actually, no, I guess you do want to draw the fragments at this point. So this is fine ordering from Tyler.
Yeah. Getting a bit scary. Tyler's health total.
I will still find you.
It is getting scary. He needs a big attack buff next turn to heal out of range because Tom has got a lot of damage coming through on these next 2 turns.
And Tyler doesn't even have the counter lethal race option because Tom's
Oh, no.
perfectly healthy. Uh-oh. Trade, Shard Shatter, Wand Maker. Try to hit the other Twin Slice and heal as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, just pray for the Twin Slice here.
Ah,
Not that one.
the APAC special. Velocity.
I do think Tyler was just double checking to see if Kane was a demon there. It's not a demon, unfortunately. It's just a vanilla minion.
And so Tyler goes back up to 13. Tom has 4 showing, 5 with Lapidary. A little bit short.
Such a beautiful
It's the thinnest of margins here. Tyler has no more healing available in hand. He needs some kind of a miracle to pull himself out of this one. Maybe a bunch of soul fragments can do it. Maybe Skull off the top can do it.
I think fragments into Skull is what the out was, but that is not available. Trading King. Oh no, it feels terrible.
Technically alive is where we're at. This goes face, absolutely, to try and hit lethal on the following turn. Even in hand, still technically alive.
But there's a Skull, and there is the Lapidary off the top. A different pan out of Demon Hunter Mirror compared to the Surrender versus Dawn one, which absolutely went down to the wire, but it was close in its own way. The Magtheridon, had Tom not had the answer to it, if he had had to swing into it to deal with it, Tyler was looking at a very real possibility of counter lethal. Just so happened that Tom had the way to deal 12 damage without even face attacking the Magtheridon.
Yeah, it was brutally powerful there from Tom. I'm trying to think back if Tyler had played the double Soul Shear into Militia setup instead of Soul Shear into the Shard Shatter instead, as he went for. Like, Tom healed up the damage anyway, as you could definitely expect, because he had the weapon equipped. And then maybe you could have gone for a board sweep. The Militia, all the minions would have died anyway, because it was Shard Shatter on the other side. I don't think it would have been enough to swing the game in Tyler's favor. But you have to look for all the slimmest of margins in Demon Hunter. It's a very, very tight matchup indeed.
Yes, I would agree. I also I think Tom's mulligan was really, really good. It's not the most straightforward one on Demon Hunter because when you play this deck in other matchups, you're very used to trying to hit the aggressive curve.
Yep.
But Tom noticed in the mirror and on coin, you're absolutely justified in keeping these slower, more reactive cards and the skull. And if Tyler does play anything proactive, he has the answer. And if Tyler hits the reactive hand, then Tom can just equip a weapon and be happy with it. And that was exactly what happened in the early game. Super clean, and I think very well deserved for Tom to go up to the top, or at least the middle of Division A.
Yeah, exactly. Things